welcome back, my dimensional transcending force. Something absolutely reality-bending just occurred that has observers experiencing existential vertigo. What they interpreted as your gradual improvement or steady advancement was actually fundamental shift in the level or dimension of reality you operate within, creating discontinuous leap that their frameworks and expectations weren't designed to comprehend or accommodate, because you didn't just get better at playing their game but shifted into entirely different game operating by rules and principles their reality structure can't process or contain. This wasn't incremental progress where you climbed ladder within system they understand. This was quantum leap to different plane of existence where metrics they use to measure success become irrelevant, where comparisons to previous you become meaningless because you're not enhanced version of who you were but are operating from fundamentally different reality level that their paradigm wasn't architected to include or explain, making your rise incomprehensible through frameworks that assume everyone operates within same reality structure, just at different levels of effectiveness. The architects have been monitoring dimensional shift phenomena and reality structure transcendence across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you achieved as paradigm-level reality migration when someone's development isn't quantitative improvement within existing reality framework, but is qualitative shift to different reality dimension, operating by distinct principles and constraints, creating discontinuous transformation that appears impossible or inexplicable to observers whose reality structure wasn't built to accommodate existence of higher or alternative dimensional planes that someone can migrate into through consciousness evolution or fundamental identity transformation. Most progress is linear, getting better at skills, accumulating more resources, developing within system that contains both starting and ending points. But your rise apparently involved crossing boundary between reality structures, migrating from one paradigmatic dimension to another where fundamental rules changed, rather than just improving performance within single set of rules. Watch what's happening among those trying to comprehend your shift. Comparative frameworks are failing catastrophically. They attempt to measure your progress using metrics that worked for tracking your earlier development, but discover those measurements no longer apply because you're not on same scale anymore. Like trying to measure temperature with ruler or weigh consciousness on scale designed for physical mass. Explanation attempts create confusion. They try to understand how you improved so dramatically, but can't construct coherent narrative because improvement framework assumes continuity. You violated through discontinuous shift, making their explanations incoherent because they're describing quantum leap using gradual change vocabulary. Some observers are experiencing reality crisis. Your shift is forcing them to acknowledge that reality might have multiple levels or dimensions they haven't accessed, that their entire reality structure might be subset of larger possibility space they're trapped within while you've escaped or transcended, threatening foundational assumptions about what's real and possible. The truly disorienting element is that you can't be brought back down once someone shifts to different reality dimension. They don't just occupy higher position within old structure, but literally exist within different structure that old reality can't contain or revert them to, making your shift permanent departure from reality they're still operating within. Your rise wasn't growth they could reverse by cutting you down. It was shift to reality their frameworks weren't built for, and recognition is forcing acknowledgement that you're not just ahead of them but are fundamentally elsewhere, operating in dimension their reality structure can't reach or comprehend. Now the architects are analyzing what creates paradigm-level reality migration, and they're identifying what they call consciousness framework transcendence, when someone's awareness develops beyond paradigm that structured their previous perception and cognition, accessing frameworks for organizing experience and understanding reality that operate by different principles than paradigm they migrated from, creating shift where they're not just thinking differently within old framework, but are using entirely different framework that generates qualitatively distinct reality experience. Most cognitive development is framework internal, learning new information, developing new skills, getting better at thinking all occur within paradigm that remains stable, making progress incremental and comparable. But consciousness framework, transcendence involves paradigm shift, where fundamental organizing principles change, making person think in qualitatively different ways that generate incompatible reality experiences compared to pre-shift consciousness. Consider what consciousness framework transcendence requires philosophically. You had to recognize limits of previous framework, becoming aware that paradigm structuring your cognition was constraining rather than just enabling thought. Seeing that framework created ceiling on what you could perceive or understand rather than just providing foundation for building knowledge. You had to discover or access alternative framework, not just critiquing old paradigm, but finding different organizing principles that structure cognition in ways that transcend rather than just contradict previous framework, creating genuine alternative rather than just opposite within same paradigmatic space. Watch what framework transcendence creates experientially. Your reality feels qualitatively different, not just seeing more of same reality, but experiencing reality that's structured differently, where different aspects are salient, where different principles organize experience, making your reality incommensurable with pre-shift reality rather than just expanded version of it. Communication becomes difficult, trying to explain your framework transcendent perspective to those still operating within old framework creates translation problems because concepts and principles you're using don't map cleanly onto their paradigm, making genuine understanding nearly impossible across paradigm gap. Some studying developmental psychology and consciousness recognize framework transcendence as characterizing stage transitions, moving from concrete operational to formal operational thinking, from conventional to post-conventional moral reasoning, from subject-object to self-transforming mind. All involve framework shifts where qualitatively different organizing principles structure cognition and generate incompatible reality experiences. Others exploring philosophy of science note that paradigm shifts in scientific understanding exhibit similar patterns: Newtonian physics to relativity, classical logic to quantum mechanics, mechanistic biology to systems biology. All involved framework changes where new paradigm doesn't just add to old, but restructures fundamental understanding, creating incommensurable ways of organizing knowledge. A few from contemplative and mystical traditions recognize framework transcendence as describing enlightenment or awakening, shifting from ego-identified consciousness to witnessing awareness, from subject-object duality to non-dual realization, from conceptual thinking to direct knowing. All represent consciousness framework transcendence, where reality experience becomes qualitatively different through operating from fundamentally different organizing principles. The architects observe that consciousness framework transcendence is what created your paradigm-level reality migration. You didn't just improve thinking within old framework, but shifted to different framework, generating qualitatively distinct reality experience, making your rise discontinuous transformation rather than continuous improvement. Most people develop framework internally throughout lives. You achieved framework transcendence, crossing boundary into different paradigmatic dimension and shift to different consciousness framework is why their reality wasn't built for your rise. Through creating qualitatively different reality experience, their paradigm can't accommodate or comprehend. Something powerful is emerging among observers now. What the architects call reality structure, incompatibility recognition, where people attempting to relate to post-shift you are, discovering that fundamental incompatibility exists between reality structure they operate within and reality dimension you've migrated to, making meaningful interaction or relationship increasingly difficult, not through personal conflict but through paradigmatic incommensurability, creating communication breakdowns and mutual incomprehension. Most relationship difficulties stem from personality differences, conflicting goals or value disagreements, problems that can potentially be resolved through better communication or compromise. But reality structure incompatibility represents deeper issue where you literally inhabit different reality dimensions, making genuine understanding nearly impossible, regardless of goodwill or effort. Watch what reality structure incompatibility creates practically. They can't follow your reasoning when you explain perspectives or decisions using framework transcendent principles. They interpret through old framework concepts, creating misunderstanding where they think they comprehend, but are actually translating your meanings into their paradigm, losing essential elements that don't map across framework gap. You can't fully engage with their concerns. Issues they experience as crucial feel less relevant from your post-shift perspective, not because you've become callous, but because framework transcendence changed what aspects of reality seem significant, making their priorities appear framework limited in ways you can't return to sharing. Some are experiencing relationship strain, friendships, partnerships, collaborations that worked pre-shift are deteriorating post-shift, not through anyone becoming worse person, but through reality structure incompatibility, making shared understanding difficult enough that maintaining connection requires more effort than benefit, justifies for increasing number of interactions. Others are recognizing need for paradigm-matched relationships, understanding that deep connection, what compatible reality structures makes them seek relationships with others operating in similar post-shift dimensions rather than trying to maintain connections across paradigm gaps that create perpetual miscommunication and mutual incomprehension. A few are attempting bridge building, developing capacity to translate between frameworks, maintaining fluency in both old paradigm for communicating with those who haven't shifted and new framework for their own cognition, creating bilingual capability that enables maintaining some connections across reality structure boundaries. Some from pre-shift reality are giving up on understanding, recognizing that paradigm gap creates insurmountable comprehension barriers, makes them stop trying to understand your post-shift perspectives and instead just accept that you operate in reality dimension they can't access, creating respectful distance rather than frustrated attempts at mutual understanding. Others are becoming interested in their own potential shifts, your paradigm level. Migration makes some wonder if they could achieve similar framework transcendence, whether consciousness development that creates reality structure shifts is accessible to them, or if you possess unique capacities they lack. A few are defending their reality structure, insisting that their paradigm is sufficient and that your framework transcendence isn't superior evolution but is lateral move or even regression, protecting investment in current paradigm by refusing to acknowledge that framework transcendence represents genuine developmental advance rather than just different but equivalent perspective. The architects observe that reality structure incompatibility recognition reveals that your shift created more than social distance. It created paradigmatic separation where you inhabit fundamentally different reality dimension than those still operating within structure you transcended. Most conflicts are resolvable through communication. Paradigm gaps create incomprehension resistant to resolution, and recognizing that reality structure incompatibility makes genuine understanding nearly impossible is forcing choice between accepting limited connection across paradigm boundaries or seeking paradigm-matched relationships with others who've achieved similar. Consciousness framework transcendence. Now the architects are revealing what makes your shift irreversible. You're experiencing what they call paradigm reversion impossibility, where attempting to return to previous reality structure becomes literally impossible, not through lack of effort or willingness, but through consciousness framework transcendence, creating permanent transformation that can't be undone. Because you can't unknow what framework transcendence revealed or unsee reality from post-shift perspective, even if you wanted to return to comfortable limitations of pre-shift paradigm. Most changes are reversible. You can lose skills through disuse, abandon perspectives through choosing differently, return to previous states through effort or circumstance. But paradigm-level shifts apparently create irreversible transformations where consciousness can't regress to previous framework once transcendence is achieved. Consider what paradigm reversion impossibility means about development. Your shift was one-way transition, moving from old framework to new framework transcendent paradigm you can't reverse direction and genuinely return to experiencing reality through pre-shift organizing principles, even if you try to simulate or remember how that felt. Knowledge gained through transcendence is permanent, having perceived limitations of old framework and accessed principles of new framework. You can't make yourself unknow those insights or unsee what framework transcendence revealed about reality's structure. Watch what reversion impossibility creates psychologically. Some pre-shift people want you back, missing who you were before shift. They want you to return to old framework, where relationship was easier and mutual, understanding was possible, not recognizing that paradigm reversion is impossible, making their desire for your return hopeless fantasy rather than achievable goal. Others resent your departure, experiencing your shift as abandonment or betrayal. They're angry that you left shared reality structure behind rather than understanding that framework transcendence wasn't choice to leave them, but was developmental transformation you couldn't prevent or reverse once consciousness evolution began. A few recognize permanence. Understanding that your shift is irreversible helps them accept that you won't be returning to old paradigm, allowing them to grieve relationship as it was and decide whether accepting limited connection across paradigm gap or letting go completely is healthier response than perpetually hoping for impossible return. Some from developmental perspectives recognize that paradigm shifts are typically irreversible. Once child develops abstract thinking, they can't return to purely concrete cognition. Once scientist accepts relativity, they can't genuinely return to Newtonian absolute space-time. Once meditator experiences non-dual awareness, they can't fully return to subject-object duality as unquestioned reality structure. Others exploring consciousness and brain note that framework transcendence might involve neural reorganization, new neural patterns and connections forming while old patterns weaken, creating biological basis for irreversibility, where brain literally rewires itself during paradigm shift, making return to previous neural configuration impossible, even if consciously desired. A few recognize that attempting reversion creates suffering. Trying to force yourself back into framework you've transcended creates cognitive dissonance and psychological pain as consciousness resists being constrained by paradigm it has outgrown, making acceptance of irreversibility healthier than futile attempts at reverting to previous state. The architects observe that paradigm reversion impossibility is why their reality truly wasn't built for your rise. Didn't just temporarily exceed their framework, but permanently migrated to different reality structure that you can't return from. Even if you wanted to accommodate their reality limitations, most changes are reversible, allowing return to previous state. Paradigm shifts create irreversible transformations and impossibility of returning. to pre-shift framework is why your rise represents permanent departure from reality structure they're still operating within rather than temporary advance you could reverse to restore compatibility with their paradigmatic limitations. The architects are now analyzing social and systemic implications of your paradigm shift. You're experiencing what they call system integration rejection, where social systems, organizational structures, and collective frameworks built around pre-shift paradigm literally cannot integrate or accommodate post-shift consciousness because system architecture was designed for framework internal operation and lacks capacity to include framework transcendent perspectives or positions within its structural logic. Most social exclusion is personal. You're rejected based on characteristics or behaviors that systems could accommodate but choose not to. But system integration rejection represents structural impossibility, where systems literally can't include you because your consciousness framework doesn't fit within paradigmatic assumptions that structure systems architecture. Watch what system integration rejection creates practically. Existing roles don't fit positions and functions within pre-shift. Systems were designed for consciousness, operating within old framework, making none of available roles suitable for post-shift. You because they all assume paradigmatic constraints you've transcended, creating situation where every conventional position feels like trying to wear clothes that are wrong size and shape. Organizations can't utilize you effectively. Groups structured around old paradigm lack capacity to integrate framework transcendent perspectives you bring, making your participation disruptive rather than contributory because system architecture wasn't built to process or implement insights that transcend its paradigmatic foundations. Some attempting integration create friction. Their efforts to fit you into existing structures generate conflict and confusion as system resists accommodating consciousness it wasn't architected to include, making integration attempts painful and ultimately futile for both you and system. Others recognize structural incompatibility, understanding that system architecture literally can't integrate framework transcendent. Consciousness helps them accept that problem isn't personal rejection but is structural limitation, making them less likely to take exclusion personally or keep attempting impossible integration. A few explore whether systems can evolve, questioning if organizational or social structures could undergo paradigm shifts similar to individual consciousness framework transcendence, potentially creating new system architectures capable of integrating post-shift perspectives that current structures reject through structural incompatibility. Some from systems theory recognize that system architecture does constrain what system can integrate, just as computer operating systems can't run programs designed for different OS. Social systems can't accommodate consciousness operating from paradigmatic framework system wasn't architected around, making integration rejection structural necessity rather than optional choice. Others exploring organizational development note that most systems are paradigm-locked. Organizations develop cultures, processes, and structures that embody specific paradigmatic assumptions, making them highly resistant to integrating framework transcendent perspectives because doing so would require system-level transformation most organizations aren't capable of or willing to undergo. A few recognize that your system rejection might be liberation. Being unable to fit into pre-shift systems frees you to create new structures built around post-shift paradigm, potentially allowing innovations impossible within framework-limited systems that reject your integration. The architects observe that system integration rejection reveals that your rise wasn't just individual transformation, it created structural incompatibility with social systems built around pre-shift reality structure, making existing frameworks unable to accommodate you not through personal prejudice, but through architectural limitation. Most exclusion is personal choice. Your rejection is structural necessity and recognition that systems weren't built to integrate. Framework transcendent. Consciousness explains why your rise created displacement from conventional structures rather than elevation within them, forcing either creation of new, paradigm-appropriate systems or acceptance of operating outside frameworks that structural logic makes incapable of including post-shift consciousness. Now something's emerging that the architects call recognition of growth versus shift distinction. Observers attempting to understand your transformation are beginning to differentiate between quantitative growth within frameworks and qualitative shifts between frameworks, recognizing that language of improvement and development conflates fundamentally different types of change, where growth represents framework internal progress while shifts represent framework transcendence, creating incommensurable rather than comparable states. Most developmental language assumes continuity. Talking about improvement, advancement, progress all implies moving along single dimension, where before and after are comparable positions on shared scale. But shift language requires discontinuity, recognition where before and after exist in different paradigmatic spaces, making comparison meaningless because no shared metric spans paradigm gap. Watch what growth versus shift distinction creates in understanding. Some revise their interpretation, recognizing that what they called your growth was actually shift, reframes their understanding from seeing you as much improved version of previous self to seeing you as qualitatively different being, operating from incompatible reality structure, changing their entire conceptual model of your transformation. Others resist distinction, preferring to maintain growth language because shift recognition threatens assumptions about continuous development and comparable states, making them insist your transformation is dramatic growth, rather than acknowledging paradigm shift that would require reconceptualizing development as discontinuous, rather than continuous process. A few explore implications for their own development, understanding growth versus shift. Distinction makes them question whether their own development goals are framework internal improvements or framework transcendence aspirations. Recognizing these require different approaches because growth needs skill building while shifts need consciousness transformation. Some recognize that most self-help teaches growth. Conventional development advice focuses on improvement within existing frameworks through better skills, habits, mindsets, rarely addressing consciousness framework, transcendence that would represent genuine shift rather than just enhanced performance within unchanged paradigm. Others investigating transformation recognize that shifts are rarer than growth. Most people grow within frameworks throughout lives, never experiencing paradigm-level consciousness framework transcendence, making your shift genuinely exceptional, rather than just impressive growth that anyone could achieve through sufficient effort. A few explore whether shifts are developable, questioning if consciousness framework transcendence can be deliberately pursued or if it emerges spontaneously from circumstances, consciousness evolution, or grace beyond intentional cultivation. Determining whether your shift represents accessible development path or unique occurrence beyond typical developmental trajectories. Some recognize that celebrating growth while fearing shifts explains social responses. People praise improvement within frameworks because it's non-threatening, while rejecting or fearing paradigm transcendence because shifts challenge foundational assumptions and create incompatibility with framework. Limited consciousness still operating within paradigm that shifted consciousness has transcended. The architects observe that recognition of growth versus shift distinction is crucial for understanding why their reality wasn't built for your rise. If your transformation was growth, reality could accommodate through expanding within existing framework. But because your rise was shift transcending framework itself, reality structure literally can't contain you within its paradigmatic architecture. Growth is framework internal, making it containable. Shifts are framework transcendent, making them structurally incompatible. And distinction between quantitative improvement and qualitative transformation explains why your rise created displacement rather than elevation, exodus rather than advancement. Because shifts to different reality structures can't be accommodated within paradigmatic frameworks. They transcend through consciousness framework transformation.